Good morning and welcome to Asian Review. I'm your host Lily Ong. Today we have with us Mr. Bill Boerum, Chairman Emeritus of Sister Cities International. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bill.
I'm very happy to be here. Happy to be back in Hawaii, I can tell you that.
Why are you in Hawaii today?
Well, we're having a conference here to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the founding of Fort Elizabeth on the south shore of Kauai. So I'm joining with other people who will make that observance and make some comments upon it and interpret what the history, the culture, etc.
And who are these other people that's going to be here today?
Well, there will be scholars on history and culture, of course. And then there'll be members of different departments of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then also various non-governmental organizations here in the United States. So each having a view of the events that transpired 200 years ago.
Wow. And how long has this event been in the planning?
I think quite a number of months. I was invited a couple of months ago to come here. Very happy to do so. And I think it's been a very good coming together, again, of different non-governmental organizations in the U.S. and also working with Russian government officials and NGOs.
And what can we expect to happen at this event today?
Well, there'll be presentations by quite a few people. There's a number of speakers, probably 12 plus. And we've got different segments during the course of the day. So they'll make their presentations. We'll have Q&A and then some open discussion. So I think it'll be a very good program. And I hope that a number of locals have registered that can listen in as well as make comments to us.
And who are some of the VIPs we can expect to be in attendance today?
Well, I have the list right here. I haven't remembered it as yet. But the mayor will be here.
Right.
The mayor of Kauai. Very important person. So I look forward to meeting him.
Yeah. What about from the Russian side? Is the Russian ambassador going to be here?
No, the Russian ambassador will not be here, but I know that his number two out of the embassy in Washington will be here. So that's significant. And then, as I said, also people from Moscow.
Well, wonderful. Well, Bill, you're a Chairman Emeritus at Sister Cities International. Could you tell us more about the organization? How did it come about?
Well, it came about from a conference that President Eisenhower had in 1956, September 11th, no less. In any event, he said that peoples throughout the world are interested in peace. So he gave inspiration to the American people to form partnerships with other cities, and this is all through the city channel. So it started with Eisenhower, and we've been at it for now more than 60 years, and we've got over 2,000 affiliations of U.S. cities around the world.
So how has Sister Cities International today continued to foster this vision of President Eisenhower?
Well, we have one thing, we have annual conferences. So we have topics that are of current interest. Within our organization in Washington, we have an online capability called Cities Seeking Cities. So anyone on either side, whether they're a foreign city or someone in the U.S. looking for a city in the other direction, can look and see who may be registered, kind of like a bridal registry, if you will. So we are pairing people, pairing communities.
And do you go beyond the initial link-up?
We do. We provide a lot of information for the original link-up, standard kinds of agreements, etc. But the annual conference and other programs that we have sustain and support the activities of all these many partnerships around the world. So we're constantly at that. We have a board of directors of 25 people from across the U.S., and so they give us a good channel of communication with the cities around the U.S. And then, of course, we also have the state representatives, a very important group. And they act between the office and the board to the cities within their states. And this time, for the first time right now, for the first time in many years, we have all 50 states covered, including Hawaii. So we're very proud of that.
Wonderful. Now, are your services available to anybody that just go to your website and let's say A city is looking for B city, or do they have to become a member of your organization?
They don't have to become a member initially. We encourage that. So the services are for free. That's a good question. Certainly people can call into the office or contact a state representative if they know who that is. So the initial can be for free, but of course if they want to participate, well, they even don't have to be a member to be at the conference. So, but it's good if you are a member, then you have access to a wider scope of information.
And what takes place during these annual conferences?
Well, again, we have what we might call best practices sessions, as well as informational sessions and networking sessions as well. So there's a variety of types of sessions that are conducted. And then, very importantly, we have the award ceremony. And this recognizes particular achievements of a city committee. And it's ranked by, you might say, size of city by the population. So this in humanitarian, youth and education, economic development, all of those cities are recognized within size categories. So they come up on the stage, receive their award, and make some nice comments.
And can any city apply to participate in this award, or do you have to be a member?
You have to be a member to be considered for an award because it is recognizing the achievements of our members.
And how far in advance do they have to submit their application to be considered?
Well, I think that could be probably 3 or 4 months in advance. I don't forget exactly what the deadline is, but it's so that their information can be submitted and can be considered by the vetting panel.
And what is the percentage of foreign attendees in these annual conferences?
Yes. Well, it varies from year to year, frankly, depending on where it is, but it may be as many as 25%. We've always wanted to have more. Sometimes we have, but we get good participation. We always seem to have a good participation from African city committees.
And what about the governmental representation? What's the percentage of attendees that come from government background?
Well, it's we're basically talking mayors here because it's city to city. That's probably 10% or less. We've always wanted more mayors to come, but they're busy people too. They've got a lot of meetings to go to, both within their city and otherwise. And we're looking actually next year, and we've considered it in the past, to have meetings concurrent with the U.S. League of Cities so that it'll be convenient for the mayors to also come to our conference concurrently. So a little bit of logistical issues there because mayors are busy people.
Could you tell us more about the U.S. League of Cities?
Well, that's an organization. There are 2 of them. That's one. And basically the city is a member. And somewhat similar to what we do, they have this annual conference. They also have a staff which provides information. It's about best practices in city government. So that's mainly what it is. So they'll have, and it's all run by the mayors. It's a whole elective process. So it's something which I think most cities in the U.S. do belong to. It's a very worthwhile organization. And we've attended their conferences in the past with representatives.
Do we have any mayors that are serving on Sister Cities International Board or in the committee?
We do. The one fellow that we're quite proud of is Ron Nierenberg, who was a city council member in San Antonio. And just a few months ago, he was elected the mayor of San Antonio, 9th largest city in the United States. So he was elected as mayor, but he also was elected as vice chair of Sister Cities International, which means that next July he would become the chairman of the board of directors. We have a number of other people. For example, there's Magdalena Carrasco, who's the vice mayor of San Jose, California. So from time to time, we do have council members and mayors that serve on the board of directors or on our honorary board. In fact, another official that we have who's not a mayor, he's kind of like a mayor, is the president of the Board of Supervisors of Santa Clara County in California. That's a very high-level positions.
Wonderful. Do you work closely with the State Department?
We do work very closely with the State Department, and I'm happy to say that during the last year or two, we worked even more closely with the State Department. We have always received a relatively small amount of funding from the State Department, and therefore you want to have good liaison with the State Department. just go across town from Washington and meet with them periodically. We have to give them financial reports and activity reports, but also members of the State Department do come to our conferences and speak about matters of interest to our members.
And what kind of support do they render other than coming to our conferences and providing a small amount of funding?
Well, I think that's the most that they would want to do and the most that we would expect them to do, to speak as authorities on certain topics. So we're very happy with that. We'd be even happier with more money, but Congress is a tough place to do business with. But I must say also that whenever our delegations go overseas, as I do as an individual, we visit at the local consulate, try to get appointments there, visit at the embassy of the country to let them know that we're in country, what we're doing. I was at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow actually less than 2 weeks ago, meeting with a public affairs officer. So it's an important thing that we visit with these embassies and consulates of the United States overseas. And I would say that in almost all cases, these people know of sister cities and know about the work that we do. A greater challenge is to try to find their support in some way for our work so that they could support through funding and otherwise exhibitions of culture, of U.S. culture in the foreign country. So we're establishing deeper support with the State Department, and I know that they welcome it.
Could you give us some more notable examples of achievements and activities between the different sister cities, say in educational, economic, municipal, or cultural exchanges?
Right. Well, there's many different types of activities, as you say, ranging from the humanitarian, where we might support a simple thing, such as making water more available, clean water, installing pumps, that type of thing. On the educational area, we facilitate the exchange of students. They're able to come over to the U.S., stay for 2 weeks with a family, and then the next year or a year after, that U.S. family and the U.S. City Committee will go over and stay with the people over there.
Does SCI help with facilitating the process of the F1 visas as well?
It does. We have actually we call it a J visa, as I remember. And we have set up a separate channel to do that. We used to outsource it. Now we're doing it ourselves in order to do it as a lower cost to our city members. So we do facilitate that. And we welcome more business.
What about students who plan on coming here for school? Do you not just for a month or two, but for long term? Does SCI help with those kind of applications as well?
Well, I think that's been more in the province of the local city committees that do that, because if they've identified and working well with a local university, they will help facilitate those enrollment types of in programs for a year or something like that. So that also goes on. I'm starting to do some work in that area myself, trying to identify some cities in Russia and universities in Russia that we can have some longer term exchanges with.
I'm a numbers person. Could you provide some economic numbers, that have transpired, they are the fruits of this kind of exchanges?
Well, I can't think I'm glad you're a numbers person. Off the top of my head, it's still early in the morning. Need that first cup of coffee.
And you're jet lagged too.
That's right. So I can't remember the exact numbers, but that's something which we need to do more of, compile the numbers. There's a lot going on. This is an organization of 600 city committees with over 2,000 partnerships. Very difficult to keep track of all of those activities. We'd rather have them continue to be active and do things rather than to bother them with, leaning on them for a lot of reporting. So it's spontaneous and local.
Well, with modern technology and communications methods, if I want to contact somebody in country exotica, I could almost just reach over the internet to to get to know them. So, what kind of added advantage or unique tools and resources does SCI have to facilitate that kind of development?
Right. Well, if one person tries to contact one person or a city overseas, I think it's difficult. I mean, you can identify, but to actually establish contact, they don't know who you are. They think maybe it's an internet scam of some type. We have the reputation around the world in 150 countries. So we have this reputation, and the foreign ministries know of us. A lot of people in capital cities and other cities know of us. So we are an entree. We're like a passport to connections around the world. So we can pave the way.
And being a non-governmental organization, you're sort of doing track 2 diplomacy. What are some of the things that track 2 diplomacy can accomplish that track 1 cannot?
Well, the human element is the real difference here. And again, that it's from the American people. It's not from the government, from the U.S. government or U.S. agencies. So I think the human element is the most important part. And ours is a volunteer work. People who go on these missions, these exchanges, are doing it on their own time, on their own expense. And I think that kind of willingness to be of help or to be collaborative, really, is welcomed abroad.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Boerum. We're so glad to have you here with us in Hawaii today, and we hope you enjoy your stay.
Thank you very much, and I hope they have another meeting here in Hawaii soon.
Thank you. Well, good.